everybody, welcome to another episode of Book HQ. I've been saying that I'm going to do this video for a while, and now the time has come for me to actually do it. We are talking about The Mortal Instruments today. It is originally a book series by Cassandra Clare. The one that I'm really going to talk most about is The City of Bones, which I have behind me over here. And I'm going to talk about the movie The Mortal Instruments, I'm going to talk about the book, The City of Bones, and I'm going to talk about the series on Netflix, which is Shadowhunters. So the movie, which came out in 2013, I was so hyped for that movie. And then when I went to the cinema and I watched it, it was kind of meh. And I am not entirely sure why that is, but I have my suspicions and I'm going to share them with you. The movie The Mortal Instruments is star-studded. The protagonist, Clary Frey, is played by Lily Collins. And then Jace is played by Jamie Campbell-Bower, who you probably know as Caius from Twilight. And then there's Kevin Zegers, who acts or plays the part of Alec Lightwood, and he's from Gossip Girl. And then there's Robert Sheehan, who I recently discovered is from Misfits, because I discovered that series over the summer this year. And he's playing Clary's best friend, Simon. And then Lena Headey is playing Clary's mom, Saoirse. She's playing Joycelyn Frey. And then Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is the main antagonist, and he's playing Valentine. The first time I ever saw Jonathan Rhys-Meyers was in Bend It Like Beckham, and then of course he's gone on to act in like a billion other things. And then there's the guy, Jared Harris. I've got my cheat sheet with me, of course. If anybody's wondering why I'm looking down, it's because I've got my cheat sheet, so I'm not saying things that are completely untrue. So, Jared Harris, a creepy scientist from Fringe, he's in there as Hodge. And then there's Aidan Turner from The Hobbit. And he's also in Being Human, the original version. And he's Uncle Luke, and he is also Clary's mom's best friend, possible lover, or previous lover, whatever. So, yeah. And so his relationship with Clary's mom is very similar to Clary's relationship with Simon. And then there's Kevin Durant, who you see in a lot of things. I most recently watched him in The Strain, and he's playing Pangborn, who's one of Valentine's cronies. And then there's CCH Pounder, who is playing Madame Dorothea, who lives in the same sort of complex as Clary. There's vampires, werewolves, and angels, and then like demi-angels. And so the story is centered on like good versus evil, werewolves, vampires, whatever, demons. So this angel comes down from heaven, pours his blood in a cup, and gives it to a select group of people. These select group of people who drink from the cup become Shadowhunters. And so the Shadowhunters can see into the demi-monde, like the middle world, and they can see like demons and stuff, and then they can also fight off and kill demons. They have like these ancient runes which they can like sort of write on themselves with something that looks like, I don't remember the word for it, but it's like, it looks like a wand with like a crystal at the end of it, and they can like sort of tattoo the runes onto themselves to like heal themselves or make themselves stronger, or like manipulate their surrounding environment in general, right? So Valentine is a part of like the Clave, and the Clave is like the people who guard like the mortal cup and their way of life, which is basically training so that they can kill the demons, etc. So Valentine doesn't agree with the way that the Clave has been doing things, and he decides that we need a more pure, group of shadow hunters. And Valentine is a purist, or maybe not a purist, but like I want to say a racist. So he decides to steal the mortal cup, and he starts experimenting with it, like making other Shadowhunters. And then like mixing his blood, just like doing all sorts. And so Clary's mother is like, woo, you cray. And she steals the cup from him, and she goes into hiding with their unborn child. So he's like sour, of course, and his followers too are sour, and they're all just like trying to find Clary's mom. And they're trying to find her because they want the cup so that they can continue with their craziness. So now we have Joycelyn Frey, made a new life for herself with her child and Uncle Luke, who's a werewolf. And they, it's not really clearly explained how he became a werewolf, but we do see how that happens in Shadowhunters, but I don't know if it's really sticking truly to the book or not. It's basically about Clary coming of age and discovering that, like, her life has been a lie. She's actually a Shadowhunter, but her mom's been, like, getting this, warlock called Magnus Bane to, like, wipe her memory so that she doesn't have to, like, know about the true evils of the world. Until she's ready, and she'll be ready, I guess, when her mom decides that she's ready. But then, slight glitch in the plan, Mom gets kidnapped by Valentine before Clary can be ready. And so Clary then has to, like, figure all this stuff out on her own. But then she meets Jace and Alec and Alec's sister, whose name I always forget, Isabel Lightwood. So she goes out with Simon for her birthday, and they go to a club, and so, like, her memory's starting to come back, so she's starting to, like, kind of see things in the demi-monde. So they go to this club, it has this symbol, and it's the same symbol that she happens to be drawing all over the place, and that's kind of the sign that, like, she's remembering. So she goes to the club with Simon. In the club, she sees Jace and Alec and Isabel, like, murder whom she thinks is a person, and then they're like, what? You can see us? You saw that? What? So that's kind of, like, the big, like, revelation moment where they, like, she kind of gets inducted into their world and she gets taken to the institution. Then this romance with Jace just, like, happens so quickly, out of nowhere, literally. And what I was saying, I think maybe also the issue for me with the film was that this romance is based on nothing. There isn't enough time for them to build an actual foundation to make this, like, believable. It's very rushed. They have their huge, like, climatic kiss. There's a, like, really loud music playing that's kind of distracting from whatever it is I'm supposed to be, like, getting from the scene. And I feel like the music in many ways was trying too much to do the work for what we were supposed to be feeling from the actors. And then they kiss and the music gets even louder and it's like, ah! And I'm just like, oh, wow, that was dry. That was kind of one of the issues that I had with the movie. There's a couple of, like, funny moments in the film, and I feel like the humor is really brought on by Pangborn, because he's, like, so stupid. And he, like, makes these lame, corny, like, puns about werewolves, because, like, the Shadowhunters believe that everybody else is beneath them, so, like, the werewolves, the vampires are all, like, underworlders, and just, like, ugh. So he's on Luke's case because he knows Luke is the best friend of Clary's mom, and he, like, is trying to find Clary because Clary's mom, when she gets captured, she's like, you're not gonna take me conscious, and she swallows something, so she's unconscious, and nobody knows how to get her out of this unconscious state. So they need Clary because they suspect that Joycelyn has told Clary where the cup is. Only Clary has no idea what's going on. So yeah, Pangborn is, like, after Luke so that Luke can lead him to Clary, and he always comes with these, like, lame sort of werewolf jokes, which kind of adds a comic relief. Like, he comes up to him and he's like, hey, Luke, looks like you're having a rough day, and it's, like, kind of funny, considering how the film is going. Then at the very end of the film, we finally see Valentine in the flesh. He rocks up in the institution, and, he's learned how to control demons now, which is part of what he was doing with the experimentation, which is why Joycelyn stole the cup from him anyway. So, yeah, so he rocks up at the end and lies that Clary and Jace are actually brother and sister, which is, like, ew, awkward for their, like, huge romance in the film. And I mean, this is partially why, like, Shadowhunters, I think Shadowhunters has a lot going for it, the series on Netflix, because it's been able to, like, mop up a lot of the, like, messy things or the unfinished things that the movie had, that the movie didn't get right. And so, yeah, there's a couple of things that happen in the movie, which I don't know if it's that they didn't have enough budget to do them the way they were in the book, but which Shadowhunters has done better. One of those things is that in the book, like, there's this big scene that you see in the trailer always. Like, I never thought I'd be happy to say this, but the werewolves are here to save us. Blah. So in the end, they escape that whole, like, fight scene, whatever. And Jace steals this motorcycle, this vampire motorcycle that can fly. This doesn't happen in the movie. That motorcycle does not fly. I was very disappointed. But in Shadowhunters, that motorcycle flies. And Jace and Clary go on that motorcycle, that flying motorcycle, and they like fly over the water, and it's like, it's a rush. And I felt like, yay, thank you for that fan service scene, because we did not get that in the movie. And then, so that's one of the things. The other thing is that, like, in the book, Simon gets kidnapped by the vampires, but they like give him some kind of potion that like transfigures him into like a little mouse or whatever, and then they go off with him that way. In the movie, that didn't happen. And I was like, but why? It's a movie, big budget, special effects. Come on. Didn't happen. But it's the scene and how that happens is done much better in Shadowhunters. And I was like, yay, thank you for fixing that. That was the movie. The movie ended the way it ended, on like a cliffhanger. We don't know if it's true that Clary and Jace are actually brother and sister. Jace tells her that he doesn't believe it in his heart. Of course you don't, because you like her. And then they ride off together into the sunset on the motorcycle that should be flying but doesn't. In Shadowhunters, the series, now these are the weird differences. In the series, Valentine is keeping Joycelyn in like Chernobyl. That's where they are. That's where his hideout is. That's where he's hanging and like keeping people captive and experimenting on people. And then also he happens to have Jace's dad, yeah, at the same place at the compound. So then when it's like, oh, I'm actually your father too, it's like, wait, what? But like the dad is here, and it just turns out to not be what we thought it was. So it ends also kind of pretty much the same on that cliffhanger of like, yeah, they're brother and sister. But the difference is, in the Shadowhunters, Jace actually goes with Valentine. He goes off with Valentine to save his friends and Clary. Valentine's like, come with me, or I'll murder them all. So he does. But he, like, it seems like he believes Valentine, that like, oh, it's his father, and you know, off he goes with him. And I think from what we can see in season 2, like from some of the clips and the trailers and whatever from season 2, that's starting January 2nd, Clary's mom, Joycelyn, wakes up, and you know, stuff continues from there. So something that I don't remember from the book or the movie is this concept of paraptide that like Jace and Alec have going on, where they can like, they have some kind of connection that transcends like brotherly love, and they can like find each other no matter where they are, or like see into each other's minds or whatever. I don't know what that's about, and I don't remember it from the book, and I didn't see it in the movie, so I thought that was strange. And then Alec's sister Isabel has this like ongoing like romance with like it's like an elf of some kind, or like a nymph, which, you know, I think is cool because it gave her a lot more character than the movie or even the book really did. So I thought that was like a nice addition. It was interesting. And then, oh goodness, so Simon in Shadowhunters becomes a vampire. Like a vampire. Like he's in the ranks and kind of an intermediary for the Shadowhunters and the vampires. He was kind of becoming a vampire in the movie already, we saw that, but like it wasn't like, his transition wasn't like, yeah, I'm no longer a daywalker type thing, the way it is in Shadowhunters. So that's another noticeable change between the two. So what do I think about the movie, the series on Netflix, Shadowhunters, and the book? I think that the book is infinitely better than both screen adaptations. And I just think it's a lot to do with like how the characters or the actors are like interpreting the character from the book. I'm like one of those people who when I read a book and I read a character description, if that person is going to be adapted to the screen, that's what I want to see. That's what I expect to see. And you know, the Jace for the movie, I think, was miscast because the guy is really bony. I, was not convinced that he could beat anybody up, or do any of the things that he was doing. And the Jace in the TV series, it's also just not in line with the character description in the book. He's a better choice, definitely, than his movie counterpart, for sure. So the guy who acts as Jason in the TV series on Netflix, so Shadowhunters, is Dominic Sherwood. But I do want to say that both Alec and Isabel in the TV series are hot, which is nice. And I also really like that in Shadowhunters, the series, the cast is quite diverse. Luke, he's played by Isaiah Mustafa, and Isabel Lightwood is played by Emerald Taubia. I don't know, I hope I'm not butchering that name. And then Alec Lightwood is played by Matthew Daddario. So that's something I really liked about the TV series, is that it's quite a diverse cast, which is cool. And yeah, I mean, the TV series Shadowhunters is really fortunate because it really can only go up and do things better, because we saw the movie and we saw the ways in which it didn't work, and the series is just like definitely like improving on that. I'm really eager for season 2. I've gone ahead and bought the second book, and my hope is to finish reading it so that I can be like up to speed for season 2 of Shadowhunters on Netflix. Whether or not that's actually going to happen, I don't know. I will say that the one thing that was kind of really is that old cliche that like, she's the one and only she can do this, nobody else can. And there are like 2 instances of that. Like her mom can she can take a 3D object and make it a 2D object, and take a 2D object out of its housing or whatever and make it a 3D object. And Clary can do that too. Nobody else on Earth can do that, apparently. And then there's this one moment. So here's some criticism for the movie. There's this one moment that's also a really big scene in the movie, and in the trailer, like you see it where she draws this rune on her hand and she goes, "Huh," and like these like demons, whatever, get like stopped in their tracks, right? So they're like kind of frozen. And Isabel's like, "Where did you see that rune? Because I've never seen it before. It's not in the big book of runes." And she's like, "I don't know. I'm just the one. I just got it like that." Which is kind of lame. But the part about that is most lame is that they have these like huge like swords that they can like use to cut up these demons. This is not what they do. Instead, they worm their way around these demons, like they're playing Twister or something. But these demons are stuck like that, but not for long. You can see them already breaking out of their like frozen positions slowly. And I'm like, why are you trying to tiptoe around them? Why aren't you just like destroying them whilst they're frozen so you can get on with, your mission unperturbed? Because what's going to happen is that when they get unfrozen, they're going to chase after you again, and this is still going to be a problem for you. So I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. There were a couple of instances like that in the movie where it was like, this makes no sense. Why? Those are my thoughts on the Mortal Instruments movie, on Shadowhunters, the Netflix series, and the book, The City of Bones. And I guess I'll be doing a follow-up to this after the end of season 2 of the Shadowhunters on Netflix. And after I'm done reading the second installment of Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instruments series. So that's it for me. Join me again for another episode of Book HQ. Sooner than it took for this video to be uploaded, hopefully. And yeah, until then, keep reading and keep watching. Bye!